All right, we just got done with doing some firewall rules on our firewall. This is our policies and objects that we did. We blocked some telnet, we blocked some ICMP. Before we're done with the firewall, so we have a couple rules on there. This would by no means be anything complete for a business. There would be plenty of more things we need to do, but you get the idea how to do it. Before we're done with the firewall, let's do an assessment of the firewall. We're going to run nmap against the firewall to see what does it know. Now, the first part here is these are install directions. Our machine already has nmap installed. We already have it out here on the desktop. So we do not actually need to install this, but these are directions in case you had to. So we're going to skip this. If you sit here and reinstall nmap, you're going to create the conflict that we checked for at the beginning of the lab. So don't do it if it's already there, but here's the directions to do it if you were to need it. We are going to launch nmap, and we are going to scan our firewall at this default gateway address. And again, I'm getting that number. If I do my IP config here, this is the gateway address that my machine picked up from DHCP, which happens to be the IP address of the firewall. That is the address we're going to scan. So I'm going to open up my nmap. I'll double click on nmap here. You can do it, little nmap. We're going to plug in that IP, 192.168.1.99. Okay, we're going to leave it as a 10 scan, and we're going to do scan. We're going to let that run. It's going to take a minute or two for it to run. What it's going to do is do a series of probes on that IP to learn what it can. And it's going to try a whole bunch of port numbers, TCP and UDP port numbers. It's going to try all kinds of requests, DNS requests, all kinds of stuff to say, hey, what are you? What can I learn from you? So this is a utility that in our hands, again, we are doing some white hat hacking here. We're using this to find out what is this device in our network, and more importantly, if this is our device in our network, what is being permitted was being denied. And from this, we might go back to the firewall and do additional work to block more things, or maybe permit the thing through that is being blocked that we need. Maybe something for the maintenance dealing with the ventilation system. They need a certain port open to be able to access that equipment. We might write a rule for them to permit that through. So it's done at scan, and we're really interested in this main page here, but do take a minute. As I tell you here, do take a minute. We're going to look through the tabs that are here. So let's look through the tabs. Here's the ports. This shows us that 22 SSH is open. It says 80 is open and 443 is open, and 541. This was our TLS client hello for one of the things that we have set to access in here. So we would look at this and go, are these correct? Do we need to block anything? And again, you might go in here and start blocking more traffic or permitting through the pieces that you need. This shows us the topology. It's not showing a whole lot because we're literally going from host to switch to firewall. You know, here's our PC into the firewall. But if I were connecting to something in another site, another campus, if you will, I would see more topology here. That might give me information about where this is located, how am I getting there, etc. Here's the host details. It was able to find the IP. It's able to find a little bit about it, but not a whole lot. Okay. And then this is a scan that we just did. Back here on the main output, if I scroll through, this is kind of like a summary of everything. We're seeing all these ports that are open and the ones that are closed. Again, that's really the piece that we're looking for out of this utility. If I were to permit telnet through, I would see that open. Okay. As we're looking here, these would be the ports and things I'm looking for. Okay. So this utility can be handy in things like our firewalls, routers, things like that in our network that we want to check what is open. Is this the right stuff open? Should I be considering closing certain things that are showing as open? All right, we are going to save those results. We're going to save those results so we can submit to D2L. So I'm going to highlight all of this. I can either right click and select all and then copy. And I'm going to open a notepad file. There we go. And I'm going to paste those in. Okay, it doesn't matter if it got large and spaced out. And then we're going to save this guy as, I'm going to throw it in my 125 folder so I know where it is. And we're going to save this guy as firewall nmap scan. So we'll do firewall nmap scan, and we'll leave the .txt there. And that'll show that we did our scan of the firewall, and we're seeing things like this. Obviously is a lot more valuable because we have things color-coded standing out to us than over here, but I do have a copy of my results. All right, so there's my nmap scan of my firewall. I'll close that out. I don't need that open anymore. The only thing left was we're going to do a little bit of cleanup on the firewall. So on our firewall, we're going to make sure we do have the packet capture, the firewall config, and the nmap. So I'm going to make sure I have, here's the Wireshark capture, here's my firewall nmap scan, and here's my config. I'm going to make sure I have all three. And then I'm going to log in and do the execute factory reset shutdown. Okay, so I will log out of here. I think I'll even just close my browser. I'll go back to my PuTTY. I'm going to log in with my serial, my console connection. I'll do admin as the username, password as the password. I'm in. Now that I'm here, I'm going to execute the command execute factory reset shutdown. So that'll clear it off and then literally power this thing down for us. Execute factory reset dash shutdown. Oops. Dash shutdown. Do you want to execute that? Yes, I do. So I'll say yes. I'm going to wait a minute or two. This will clean off the config and power it down. Once I see the lights go off, I can disconnect this, put this back in the cabinet, and then I can move on to the next part of the lab. So I'm going to wait a minute or two for that to do so. I will disconnect my cables and put my firewall back before I can move on to the next part of the lab.